Hi guys, welcome to DOdaily live yet again. Once again, I got caught up in the thunderstorms, so I was absolutely wet through trying to do the video. But it's Wednesday workout. Hopefully, you guys have been able to get out there and get some sort of activity in. Like I say, I was out there. I'm hoping to get out again, but for now, I can get back, put my football shirt on. Watch the football. The challenge was all around football today, and the inspiration some of us might take from getting football back on the TV. The Premier League back. So some really good efforts being coming up already. I asked you guys to get some sort of selfie around football, whether it's a football stadium or a shirt or a pitch, and I've had some really good efforts. I was hoping to include a little video that Chris made. You can see Chris is watching. Thanks for that, Chris. Really great effort that, really sort of highlighted why where we start out on the journey. It's shown different levels, like a football stadium, the school field, the back garden, wherever you take part in your activity, it's really important, and everybody starts somewhere. And that was the message in that. So I'm really disappointed I couldn't get that on, but not to worry. There's always a plan B, and it always tends to be live. I'm not going to be very well if this carries on. My throat's a bit croaky as it is already, so I apologise for that. But keeping to the theme of Wednesday workout, what I want to do, I want to sort of work off what Chris said there, and everybody starts somewhere, and just give out 5 tips today on how you can get involved in activity, things you can do to prepare yourself if you want to get involved, but a little bit worried, a little bit concerned. We all start somewhere. We all have those concerns, but there's a few things you can do to help yourself along. When I started out, I didn't start out running to run long term. It wasn't my plan. My plan was to lose weight. So we all start for different reasons. So it's really important to remember. And whilst do running, get out, get active Nottingham, this girl can Nottingham, and the Stay Safe, Stay Active campaign we're sort of championing during lockdown. Whilst we want you to get involved, take part for the obvious benefits, we don't want to scare anybody into exercise and anybody into feeling they have to do too much too soon. So hopefully these 5 tips will just give you a bit of an insight in how you can sort of prepare yourself, and how it might be that little bit easier when you take those first steps. Sorry, I've still got rain falling off me and insects and things. Today's been an absolute nightmare, I tell you. Yeah, so my first tip in getting into activity, and anybody sort of can do this, is find a group or a support system that works for you. Of course, Do Running was formed on the back of a successful running group I set up. When I started out, though, it was never meant to be a running group. I was worried about attending running groups. I tried 1 or 2. It didn't really work for me. You need to find something that works for you. But what you can also do is use the inspiration of friends. Talk to friends or colleagues who are taking part in activity. Ask them how they get on. Ask them what they're doing. And use their sort of knowledge and inspiration, or other like-minded people, or something online. That's what I'm trying to do with DOdaily, is sort of encourage people online. That was once I find groups that didn't work for me, my next step was to find something online. Keep looking at different things. Don't give up if the first thing you try doesn't work. We all get inspired by different things. Whilst I think a running group is the best thing out there, of course, because I'm biased, our running group in particular, I do understand that not everything works for everybody. So if you've really got sort of reservations about going into a group scenario, use something you can interact in online. There's always Parkrun as well. It's a great place. That was my next step after finding something online, what worked for me. I find a lot of encouragement to go to parkrun, and whilst it's a great community to be involved in, and there's lots of inspiring people, what you get to see is that people are run or walk at different paces. There's all sorts of ages and people from different backgrounds, and it's a really good way to sort of take yourself into that environment, but not throw yourself into a group scenario. And again, I got to know people. I encourage friends to join me, and it's a great way to build up your network. So it's really important to have a system that works for you, whether that's in a group or as an individual, or just taking inspiration from other people. Of course, we take inspiration from famous people. Spoken a lot about the football. It's one of my biggest inspirations. I was hoping to start this video outside the city ground, the home of Forest, before I got wet through. Again, it's just somewhere that inspires me. So take whatever you can, have that system around you, and I think that's really important to remember. My second tip is to stay positive all the time. All those people I've just spoken about, whether it's a group or an online community or like-minded people, they will always be positive about what you're doing. Of course, we're going to encounter and experience negativity. As much as it's changing, there's a stigma around running. When I started out in the place I lived, I used to get heckled a little bit, and the people around me, sort of my family and friends, wasn't into running and asked me why I'm doing that. They tell me I'm getting addicted and tell me about getting too involved. But I didn't let that get to me. And it's really important to be positive about what you're doing. We all know the benefits that come from physical activity and taking part in something. Whilst we might not feel like we can do it, you've got to believe you can. I have a group. I run on a Tuesday, the City Slickers group, which is always welcoming new people. When people will sort of come through the door, not literally, but turn up to the session, they're always telling me they can't do something, and I'm always trying to instill into them that they can. Anybody can do anything they want, whether it's walking up a mountain or running 5K or doing a triathlon. We can all do it to a certain level, and it's not about the level you can do it, it's about achieving it at the end of the day. So it's about being positive and really believing you can do it. I spoke about positivity yesterday, and by being in groups, that's where I feel you can work off positive energy. Surround yourself with negativity, and it's not really gonna work for anybody. If people are telling you can't do something, or if you're telling yourself you can't do something, then you're probably not going to do it until you believe you can, until you push yourself and you find that determination. You're not going to be able to do it. So being positive is really key. My next tip is to make a commitment. So, for example, if you go along to a running group and you're enjoying it, or if you're running with a friend, why not say, let's take part in this event? One thing I did many years ago before I started running, I made a commitment to a friend, and it didn't get me going as quick as I wanted it to, but because a friend was ill, I said one day I'd run the Robin Hood half marathon for him, for a charity related to his illness. And like I said, whilst it took me a while, eventually I had to fulfill that commitment. And whilst I didn't exactly start my running journey for that, as soon as I did start running, I started running to lose weight. As soon as I did start running, that commitment was there, fresh in my mind, and that was something I was always going to build to. So it was important because I didn't want to let him down. I didn't want to let myself down. And whilst I found it really difficult, whilst it was all about weight loss, and before I got the running bug, it kept spurring me on day in, day out, to keep going, keep making changes that would improve what I was doing. So it was really important to make that commitment. And I think a really good way to do that is get involved in an event, or tell somebody you're gonna make this commitment. On Monday, I set myself a challenge not to drink alcohol for 100 days. Some people might go, well, what sort of a challenge is that? Well, it's a big challenge to me. And the reason I mentioned it and put it out there on my social media was so people will be asking me, and again, I'm not going to want to say, oh, I didn't do that challenge. And it's a great way to sort of see something through. So again, if you're taking part in activity, it's one way you can almost force yourself, without anybody telling you what to do. You can sort of take that positive step and do something by making that commitment. Whilst making that commitment, that kind of leads on into my next tip, which is celebrate the small successes. So I told you my commitment was to run that half marathon, but I actually started to lose weight. And we all see it on various people's social media when they're on a weight loss journey, for example. They'll celebrate a half stone loss and a stone loss and a 2 stone loss. And if you're aiming to do a half marathon, you might do the count to 5K, and you might be pleased with a mile and 2 miles. And it's really important. And again, it comes down to the positivity. It's really important to celebrate that, to take enjoyment from that. Don't just say, oh, well, I've done that. Really embrace what you're doing. Tell people what you're doing. There's no problem. I say this all the time. There's no problem being proud of yourself. If you're proud of yourself, you're probably positive, and it leads back, and you've probably got further commitments going forward, and one thing leads into another. So really, really do sort of celebrate. And if it means having something unhealthy to eat, I won't encourage that all the time, but if you reward yourself with a bacon sandwich at the weekend, or a bit of drink, if you're making those positive changes 95% of the time, why is it not good to sort of have something you might enjoy, but you might be restricting yourself on? So really do sort of embrace the small successes and reward yourself with those. And tip 5, it's just a really, really simple one. But what I'd say is, when you're starting out, find yourself comfortable leisure wear. I started out, I found some old trainers in the cupboard, a baggy old t-shirt and some baggy shorts. And I think it was really important to mention the bagginess, because I was conscious at the time of my weight. I was really worried about being seen running along the pavements and people looking at me from the road, or people I was passing and saying, look at that fat git. I was really conscious of that fact. So it was important for me to wear something I felt comfortable in. And we encounter this every day in life anyway. If we wear something that's too tight, we're looking in the mirror and we're conscious and we're worried about what other people will say. So when you're taking part in activity, it's really important to feel comfortable. And ultimately, by feeling comfortable, you start to feel the part. You might not be feeling superhuman or super fit, but you start feeling better and more confident about yourself. If you're wearing the right stuff, I'm not a big one for spending lots of money on leisure wear and activity wear, but just find something that works for you, something you feel comfortable in. I think it's really important in sort of taking those first steps into activity and enjoying the activity whilst we're doing it. It is a key one. Again, once we get into these things, we tend to spend a little bit of money on things. I try not to, but it's worth just remembering that it doesn't take much to actually take those first steps. As long as you've got a pair of trainers you can exercise in, a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, you can take those bigger steps later on, which might improve performance or might make you feel even better. But it's just about getting something you feel comfortable in, like how I did. Didn't matter what I looked like, apart from the fact I didn't want everybody to see how big I was. So that was a really important thing. And there's just a few things, guys. I hope that helps. Apologies today. I'm a bit sort of all over the place. I think there's still spiders running all over me from the tree I was stood under before Kay picked me up. I had to abandon my run. So apologies if I've not come across perfect. But just a few tips there. It doesn't always go to plan. And that's just by doing this video today. I'd gone out to break it down into little clips and show you a little clip. Just proves that things don't always go to plan, but there's no reason to be negative about that. Embrace the change. Keep talking about it right now. Everything's changing. I'm going to be watching a football match in a minute with no crowd, so that's a change in itself. But I'm looking forward to it. It's made me really positive. It's something I enjoy. So hopefully you can, if you haven't yet, you can still embrace that challenge. Give it a real go today, and I'll be back tomorrow answering your questions live again for the third time this week. I'm out of my comfort zone when I'm live, but there you go. It's just about persevering and keep trying those things, keep trying something new, and keep at it. I promise, if you stick at it long enough, you won't regret it. Till tomorrow, just doing it. Cheers, guys.